Gotta keep the smile on your face. Gotta convince yourself that this is fun, but it's all worth it. How low do you go? Ass to grass. You wanna imagine you're just sitting in a small chair. You want that hip crease a little bit below parallel. Yeah. Depth, baby. You want depth. Look at that shit. Look at it. Ah.
So the first exercise on the list is going to be squats. What you want to do is get the stance to about hip width or slightly wider with the toes pointing outward in a comfortable position. You want to make sure your knees track in line with your toes at all times and keep your back straight and rigid as you push the hips back and flex the knees to bring yourself down to the bottom position. Have the chin in a neutral position and try to get the hip crease below the knee as you squat down for that full range of motion, or, as they say, ass to the grass.
So we got the step-ups here. It's really gonna work on your stability. Once you get up on that one leg and you're trying to balance that weight, you'll notice that your ankle joint is really gonna move around and articulate to try to stabilize that movement, and that's what really helps if you have a mobile ankle. So ankle mobility is gonna come into play in that one. And that's what comes into doing your mobility drills, your stretching and things like that. So when you do an exercise like this, that's gonna test your stability and also your mobility. You're gonna really feel that on exercises like these.
This is considered a unilateral lift, as we are concentrating on one leg before moving on to the other. Find a box that will allow the upper leg to be parallel to the floor or slightly below, as this will allow for a fuller range of motion and make the lift more buff dudes approved. Step straight up, utilizing the quads, glutes, and hamstrings, and the calves for stabilization purposes of the ankle. Keep the time under tension on those by focusing on an even tempo throughout the motion.
It's moments like this, when you gotta dig deep, you just gotta have the Scarface soundtrack on loop playing in your head. Push you to the limit, rise above the burning flames. You're gonna win it, yeah! Montage, 24/7 up here, buff dude style. You don't want to hear what's going on in my head. Metroflex doesn't mess around. This is the King Kong of trap bars, 85 pounds without weight. You can see we're putting 245s on each side. Yeah, we don't mess around either. It's King Kong versus Godzilla.
Trap bar deadlift. Starting in the dead stop position, this will help build the explosive strength in the concentric contraction by taking out the focus on the stretch reflex. You'll notice the grip is placed to the sides of the body rather than the front, and this will change the angle of the torso and hips, and in doing so, you'll be working on the entire leg instead of focusing on the posterior chain, like in a standard deadlift. Lateral box squats. Squatting laterally, you will now put more focus on the glute medius, as well as work on ankle and hip mobility. Get into a wide stance and keep the toes pointing forward at all times. Push the hip to the side as you squat laterally and keep tension on the leg as you touch the box. This is a unilateral exercise, so complete one side before moving on to the next.
Are you from Romania? Then you really like Romanian deadlifts. And we like you too because you invented this excellent exercise. Those hamstrings.
Start from a rack position. Grab the bar with an overhand grip about shoulder width. Stance should be close to hip width, with toes pointing forward. Bowing at the waist, keep your lower back, the lumbar, contracted and straight. Keep the lats tight as you slowly lower the bar until you feel a deep stretch in the hamstrings. This is what we call the stretch reflex. And once you reach the stretch, you want to explosively use concentric contraction through the hamstrings and glutes to raise the bar to the top position. Keep a neutral neck and don't overextend the hips at the top position.
Notice as the phases progress, there's less and less comedy.
There's a lot less laughing with us and a lot more laughing at us.
I think they already laughed at us.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you know what? As long as somebody's laughing, if you're laughing, we're happy.
So you'll notice some of the exercises are repeated. First phase has their RDLs in them. Here's the second phase, and again, the RDLs. But it's not necessarily about repeating the exercises and doing the exact same thing over and over again. It's progressing and going up in weight. It's upping the amount of sets or repetitions, so it's changing them that way. So the exercise might stay the same, but the weights are going to differ, the sets might differ, the reps might differ, so you kind of have to push yourself in that aspect. And it's all about perfecting the form, and the more you do it, the more you practice, and practice makes perfect, the better you get. So as you progress through this program, at the end of it, you'll feel like an expert. You really know these lifts like the back of your hand, so you can throw a massive amount of weight on them, feel confident, and know that you're doing the proper form, and avoid a lot of injuries that way too.
Time for us to become farmer dudes, about to raise some calves. Yeah. Let's go to the buff dude farm.
Seated calf raise. Isolating the plantar and dorsiflexion, the seated calf raise will focus on a small movement, but one that will isolate the gastrocnemius, which is a fancy word for the calves. Use a slow tempo and strive for full range of motion.
So we're wrapping this legs workout off with calf raises, 4 sets, 12 reps. Like Romanian deadlifts, where you want a little bit of that rubber band motion, so you're slowly going down, then you spring back into the top position. With the calf raises, it's slow and controlled. Goes nice and slow on the way down, nice and slow on the way up. Don't make a habit of bouncing it back up after every rep. It's slow down, slow up to the top, full range of motion, nice and controlled the whole time. It's a wrap. Got the hardest day out of the way on phase 2. It's legs. It's all easy sailing, smooth sailing from here on out. What do we got next? Who is that handsome motherfucker? Okay, I'm done. Tomorrow we have back, traps, and biceps. So we'll see you next episode for phase 2, day 2. Stay buff. Yeah.